Owen McCall yanked the reins hard when something dark caught his eye against the pale sky. His horse skidded to a stop on the scorched prairie, dust rising around its hooves. Hanging upside down from the dead branch of a withered tree was a human body. Not a sack, not an animal, a girl. An Apache girl. The rope was wrapped tight around her ankles and looped over the bleached branch like someone had taken their time. Her body bent into a hard curve, pulled by its own weight, hanging wrong in a way that made the stomach turn. Her fringed dress fell toward her shoulders, and two long black braids dangled heavy, stiff with dust and blood. From her hips down her thighs, dark lines of blood streaked her skin. Some had dried under the sun. Some were still wet. She was still breathing. Owen dismounted slowly. The heat pressed down on him, thick and cruel. He walked closer, each step careful, as if the ground itself might accuse him. He came up behind her and reached out with one hand to steady her shaking body. With the other, he pulled his knife free. Just as the blade touched the rope, her body jerked. A sharp breath broke from her chest, turning into a panicked whisper. "It's torn. Don't. It hurts so bad." The words hit the earth like a judgment. If anyone had seen them in that moment, a grown man standing behind a bound woman, no explanation would have saved him. Owen did not hesitate. He cut the rope. Her body dropped fast. He caught her against his chest as best he could. Warm blood soaked into his sleeve. In the distance, dust rose on the horizon from galloping hooves. Owen did not turn to look. He already knew. From this moment on, there was no road back. He lifted her onto his horse and swung up behind her. She hung limp, her head resting against his chest, her breath shallow and uneven. With every step the horse took, her body trembled. Blood seeped through her dress, staining the worn leather saddle. Owen kept his eyes forward and his hands tight on the reins. He did not ride toward town. Instead, he pulled off the main road and headed toward an old wooden cabin sitting alone at the edge of the prairie. No church stood nearby. No saloon. Number. Crowd that liked to talk. When he reached the cabin, he carried her inside and laid her down on an old blanket near the fireplace. Only then did he see the wounds clearly. Long tears ran from her hips down her thighs, layered with deep bruises. Some were old, some fresh. This was no accident, and it was not the first time. Owen boiled water and tore an old shirt into strips. His hands were rough, his movements slow, careful. He did only what was needed, then stepped back. He did not touch her again. Night had fallen when she opened her eyes. Panic filled her gaze at first, sharp and trained, but when she saw Owen standing far away near the wall, holding a cup of water, her eyes softened just enough to breathe, not trust. But not resistance either. "If you can drink, drink," Owen said, setting the cup down beside her. She took a small sip, then turned her face away. Outside, the wind moved across the open land, carrying dust and the smell of scorched grass. Owen sat in a chair and wiped his hands. Blood had worked its way under his nails, stubborn and dark. He knew what he had done. He had saved an Apache. He had saved someone who had been strung up to die. Either one alone was enough to ruin a man. Together, they could destroy him. He placed his rifle by the door. Whoever had hung her from that tree would not want her alive. And if they learned she was here, the quiet life Owen had fought to protect would end. The sound of hooves came. Just past noon the next day, Owen stepped onto the porch as an Apache man rode up the dirt path alone. His back was straight, his eyes cold. He stopped a few steps from the gate and did not dismount. "She is here," the man said. It was not a question. Owen nodded. "She is badly hurt." "I am her stepfather," the man said, "the one responsible for her." Owen did not move aside. "How did you find her?" the man asked. Hanging from a tree, Owen replied. Upside down. The man showed no surprise. And what were you doing behind her? He asked. Cutting the rope, Owen said, so she would not break her neck. Silence stretched between them. Then the man glanced toward the road leading to town. People saw, he said calmly. They saw a man standing behind a tied woman. They heard her speak. Inside the cabin, the Apache girl woke. Through the cracked door, she saw the two men facing each other. When her eyes met her stepfather's, her body recoiled without thought. He noticed. She is afraid, he said softly. Because she was shamed. Owen said nothing. I will tell my version, the man continued. And around here, people, listen to me. He turned his horse and rode away. Owen stood still long after the dust settled. Then he stepped back inside the cabin. He will come back, he said quietly, but not alone. Outside, the road lay empty. But the story had already started riding toward town. The cabin felt smaller after the stepfather left. The walls did not move, yet the air pressed in like a warning. Owen closed the door and slid the wooden bar into place. It was a thin thing. It would not stop men who had already decided what they wanted. Still, it was something. The Apache girl lay quiet on the blanket. Her eyes followed Owen as he moved, not with fear this time, but with alert care. She had learned to measure men by what they did, not what they said. They will come, she said. Her voice was low, steady, as if she were naming the weather. Owen nodded. Yes. She turned her face toward the wall. For a moment, Owen thought she might be hiding tears. She was not. Her jaw was set tight, her hands gripping the edge of the blanket as if holding herself together. They will believe him, she said. They always do. Owen did not answer right away. He poured water into a small tin cup and set it within her reach. Not everyone, he said finally, but enough. By late afternoon, the doctor arrived. He was thin and gray-haired, carrying a worn leather bag that looked older than the cabin itself. His eyes took in the room without asking questions. Owen stepped aside and let him in. The doctor knelt beside the blanket. When he gently lifted the edge of the girl's dress, her body tensed, her hand digging into the wooden floor. She did not cry out. She did not pull away. She endured. The doctor moved slowly. His face hardened with every inch he saw. The wounds were uneven, layered, some half-healed, some still angry and swollen. He straightened and looked at Owen. Owen met his eyes and nodded once. She will live, the doctor said quietly. But not if she is taken away. Outside, the wind rose, rattling the loose boards of the cabin. The doctor packed his tools and stood. At the door, he paused. They will ask me, he said. And they will not like what I say. Owen understood. In this land, truth survived only if someone stood beside it. After the doctor left, the cabin fell back into silence. The Apache girl turned her head toward Owen. There was no begging in her eyes, only a question. Will you give me back? She asked. Owen sat in the chair and rested his hands on his knees. I will not speak for you, he said. But I will not hand you over. She studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded once. Slow, careful. Hooves came at dusk. Not one. Horseman Owen stepped onto the porch with his rifle in hand. Torchlight flickered near the gate, throwing long shadows across the dirt. The stepfather rode at the front. Behind him were men from town. The shopkeeper, the horse trader, a man Owen had shared a drink with years ago. We are here for the girl, the stepfather said, and for you. There is nothing to say, Owen replied. One man stepped forward, holding a coil of new rope. We do not want trouble, he said. Just answers. Inside the cabin, the Apache girl heard the voices. She pushed herself up, pain tearing through her body. When she cracked the door and saw the rope, her hands began to shake. Not from fear of dying, from knowing the feeling was coming back. She needs to return, the stepfather said loudly. And this man needs to explain himself. The crowd murmured agreement. It moved faster than thought. Owen stepped down from the porch. "You do not know what happened," he said. "And you do not want us to." Someone answered. The rope was dropped on the ground between them. Quiet, waiting. Owen looked back at the Apache girl. She stood in the doorway, pale but upright. Her eyes met his. There was one clear plea in them. If another must hang, let it not be you. "You want me gone?" Owen said. "Fine, but she stays." The air went still. The stepfather's eyes narrowed. The rope was lifted again. They did not rush Owen. Two men took his arms. Another pulled the rifle from his shoulder and tossed it aside. No one struck him. They did not need to. A crowd always believes it is right. They bound his wrists and dragged him into the open space before the cabin. Torchlight swayed, lighting faces that looked certain, not cruel. "We must clear some things," the stepfather said. "Before this ends." The Apache girl stepped out onto the porch. Every step hurt. She held the doorframe to stay upright. When she saw the rope around Owen's wrists, her breath caught. "You see," the stepfather said to her gently, "I am fixing a mistake." She shook her head. A shout came from the edge of the crowd. "Stop!" The doctor pushed forward into the light, hands raised. "I have seen the wounds," he said, "and I will not stay quiet." The stepfather laughed. Sharply, "You will teach us now." "They are not from one time," the doctor said. "Not from this man." The Apache girl spoke then. Her voice was rough, but clear. "You hung me." The yard went silent. "You hung me from that tree," she said again. It was not the first time. Eyes shifted. Not many, but enough. "You are hurt," the stepfather said quickly. "You are confused." "I am hurt," she said. "But I am not lying." The doctor stepped closer. "If you do this," he said, "it is not justice." The rope on Owen's wrists loosened slightly. No one untied it. But no one pulled it tighter. A man from the back spoke. "I saw marks on her once." Another nodded. "So did I." The stepfather turned, anger flashing. "You are listening to a hurt girl." "No," the doctor said. "We are seeing a pattern." Apache girl looked at the crowd. "Many of you saw me injured," she said, and said nothing. That silence was heavier than any shout. A hand fell on the stepfather's shoulder. The marshal stepped forward, his face tired but firm. "That is enough," he said. The rope was cut from Owen's wrists. No apology followed, just space, uncomfortable and full. The stepfather was led away, shouting faded behind him. Owen rubbed his wrists. The marks were already there. Truth had won. But it had cost everyone something. Night settled over the prairie, quiet and dry. And nothing would ever be the same again. Morning came without ceremony. The prairie did not care what had happened the night before. The wind moved low across the grass, smoothing the dirt where boots and hooves had torn it up. The sky was clear, pale, almost gentle, as if no rope had ever touched flesh beneath it. Owen McCall woke before the sun fully rose. His wrists ached where the rope had been. The marks were still there, dark and honest. He washed his face with cold water and sat for a moment at the small table, listening to the quiet. The cabin felt hollow now, like a place that had finished. Its purpose. The Apache girl stood in the doorway, leaning lightly against the frame. Her wounds still hurt. Every movement showed in the careful way she held herself, but she stood straight. Her braids were clean and tied again. Her eyes were calm. "They will not come back," Owen said. His voice was steady, like he was talking. "About the weather," she nodded. "Not today." "But I cannot stay," he added. She did not ask why. In this land, staying was often more dangerous than leaving. Owen packed only what he needed: a few shirts, his knife, the rifle that had been part of his life longer than most people. The cabin emptied faster than he expected. Soon there was nothing left but the smell of old smoke and a faint dark mark on the floor where blood had once been. He handed her a water pouch, then a small knife. "You owe nothing," he said. She looked at the knife, then at him. After a long moment, she nodded. Respect did not need many words. She stepped down from the porch slowly. The early sun caught the fringe of her dress, turning it gold for a moment. Her steps were careful but sure. She walked toward the road that cut through the open land, the same road that had once carried fear toward her. She stopped and turned. Back once. "If you had not stopped that night," she said, "I would be dead." Owen shook his head. "If I had walked away," he replied, "so would I." They stood there in silence, letting the truth settle where it needed to. Then she turned and walked on. No one followed her. No one called her back. The land swallowed her footsteps the way it always did. Owen closed the cabin door for the last time. He mounted his horse and rode in the opposite direction. He did not look back. Some places hold memories that are better carried inside than seen again as the sun climbed higher. The prairie returned to its quiet work. Wind erased tracks, dust covered signs. To anyone passing later, it would look like nothing had happened at all. But some things do not disappear. They move. A man had chosen not to turn away. A woman had chosen not to bow her head. Neither was rewarded. Neither was praised. But both were alive, and both knew why. In life, there are moments when we are offered only two choices: protect our peace by looking away, or stop and do what is right, even when the cost is clear. No one is forced to be brave. But there are things that, if ignored, take something from us that never fully returns. Kindness is not safe. Truth is not gentle. Doing what is right can lead to being misunderstood, isolated, even nearly destroyed. But the cost of silence is heavier. It eats at a person slowly until they no longer recognize who they are. Owen rode until the cabin was far behind him. He felt no victory, only a quiet weight in his chest that told him he had not betrayed himself. And sometimes that is the only kind of peace a person gets.